July 6, 2025. The world is on edge as President Donald Trump issues sweeping ultimatums to nearly every nation. His administration demands changes in trade, defense, technology, and immigration, backed by the threat of massive tariffs. These tariffs, set to hit on August 1st if demands aren't met, target over 170 countries from economic giants to developing nations. The message: the old rules are gone. Access to the U.S. market now comes with strict conditions. The proposed tariffs range from painful to crippling, 10% for some, up to 70% for others, threatening global supply chains and risking recession. Allies and adversaries alike are scrambling, shocked by the scale and unpredictability of the demands. The world faces a stark choice: capitulate or risk a trade war with the world's largest economy. But resistance is mounting. Countries are signaling they won't be dictated to, setting the stage for a dramatic global confrontation. The stakes: America's role in the world and the future of international order. As the July 9th deadline looms, the world waits to see if Trump's gamble will force change or spark chaos. The outcome could reshape global alliances and economic stability for years to come. The countdown has begun. This standoff isn't just about trade deficits. Trump's tariffs are leverage for a sweeping America First agenda. The administration links economic access to political and strategic compliance, demanding allies boost defense spending, sometimes to 5% of GDP, far above NATO's 2% target. Countries like Spain have faced tariff threats for missing these new military spending goals. The U.S. is also targeting nations that tax American tech giants, ending talks with Canada over its digital services tax. Economic pressure extends to domestic laws. South Korea was pushed to drop antitrust rules against U.S. tech firms. Tariffs have even been used to force action on immigration, with Mexico, Canada, and China targeted to curb fentanyl and undocumented migration. This strategy, tying unrelated issues to trade, has left foreign officials frustrated and negotiations unpredictable. Every deal is now a high-stakes game, with shifting rules and escalating demands. The world is struggling to keep up with the pace and scope of U.S. pressure. For many, it's not just about economics, it's about sovereignty. The global order is being rewritten, one ultimatum at a time. The global response? Overwhelming resistance. Nearly 200 countries have rejected the U.S. demands, refusing to accept a new world order dictated from Washington. Only a handful have reached any agreement. Most are locked in tense, unresolved talks or outright defiance. Foreign officials call the U.S. approach chaotic, with ever-shifting demands and contradictory goals. This has united countries with otherwise competing interests, forging a rare solidarity against American overreach. The EU and others are preparing countermeasures, threatening tariffs on iconic U.S. products if new American tariffs hit. The message: economic pain will be met with pain, hoping to spark domestic opposition within the U.S. At stake is national sovereignty. Leaders refuse to let their laws and budgets be dictated by another nation. Domestic politics make concessions nearly impossible, locking many into confrontation. The world is drawing a line and the standoff is only intensifying. Amid global resistance, only the UK and Vietnam have struck deals with the Trump administration. These aren't free trade pacts. They're agreements to accept new tariffs for continued but reduced U.S. market access. The UK secured a 10% tariff, better than most, but still a blow to its exporters and likely tied to other concessions. Vietnam, heavily reliant on exports, accepted a steep 20% tariff, choosing the lesser of two evils. For Trump, these deals prove his pressure tactics can work, especially with nations dependent on U.S. consumers. But with only 2 out of 170-plus countries agreeing, the approach's limits are clear. The world is watching: accept a painful deal or risk something worse. The divide-and-conquer strategy is straining global unity, but few are willing to break ranks. Europe is the main battleground. The EU, an economic powerhouse, is refusing to bow to U.S. demands on defense and digital taxes. With a July 9th deadline, the EU is preparing for both last-minute compromise and all-out trade war. The U.S. threatens a 20% tariff on all EU goods, a devastating blow to industries from German cars to French luxury goods. The EU vows immediate retaliation, targeting American products like whiskey, jeans, and soybeans, hitting politically sensitive U.S. regions. This tit-for-tat could mobilize U.S. opposition to the tariffs, as American exporters face sudden barriers. Anxiety grips Europe, investments stall, supply chains are re-evaluated, and fears of a broader crisis grow. Leaders are trapped, unable to capitulate but desperate to avoid a trade war with their closest ally. The transatlantic alliance, a pillar of post-war stability, is under unprecedented strain. Europe braces for economic shock with global consequences. Trump's pressure campaign extends to migration, demanding countries accept deportees, including non-citizens. At least 58 nations, from democracies to war-torn states, have been asked to take in people expelled from the U.S. Most have refused, citing legal and ethical concerns, and rejecting the idea of becoming third-party destinations for deportees. Only 7 countries like Costa Rica, Rwanda, and Mexico have agreed, often in exchange for cash incentives. The Rwanda deal drew outrage. $100,000 to accept a single Iraqi man, seen as outsourcing U.S. responsibilities. U.S. courts have blocked some expulsions, especially to dangerous countries, exposing deep divisions at home. Human rights groups condemn the policy as transactional and coercive, turning humanitarian issues into bargaining chips. For many, it's another sign of the administration's hardline, deal-making approach to foreign relations. The deportation campaign has further strained U.S. relationships and deepened global mistrust. Even humanitarian crises are now part of the geopolitical chessboard. The world is pushing back, but the pressure continues. What's driving this disruption? The Trump administration sees itself as correcting decades of unfairness. The belief America has been too generous, letting others benefit from its market and military without paying their share. Access to the American market should cost you, says a former advisor, summarizing the new transactional approach. Tariffs aren't just protectionism, they're an entry fee with the price set by compliance with U.S. demands. The strategy: make extreme threats, create crisis, then offer a better deal that's still on U.S. terms. Countries must choose, accept a 10-20% tariff or risk much higher rates. Despite global outcry, the administration sees resistance as proof the old system is entrenched and overdue for change. The White House is committed to this path, betting that pain now will force a fairer system for America. The world's frustration is seen as the cost of resetting the rules. The stakes are enormous. If tariffs hit, Americans will pay more for everything from cars to food, and exporters will face retaliation abroad. Decades-old alliances are fraying, as trust in U.S. leadership erodes. Allies may seek new partnerships, fragmenting the global system and weakening cooperation on issues like climate change and security. The administration bets the world needs America more than the reverse, but unified resistance suggests otherwise. Countries are already forging new trade ties, reducing reliance on the U.S. The EU, China, and others may fill the leadership vacuum, building new systems that sideline Washington. This is a test of power and principle. Trump's America First vision versus the old order of shared rules and sovereignty. The outcome will define the global landscape for years, toward conflict and fragmentation or a new contested cooperation. The world is at a crossroads, and the next weeks will shape the future. The world watches, waiting for the next move.